Welcome in, everybody. Ready for a deep dive?
Absolutely. Sounds like we're in for a fascinating one today.
Yeah, we've got, well, it's not exactly one book or one essay. It's more like a collection
Mm.
of excerpts.
Yeah.
This writer,
Oh, interesting.
it's a real mix of stuff, travel journals, philosophy, even a few spooky stories sprinkled in.
Okay, so kind of an eclectic mind we're dealing with.
Yeah, exactly.
A day.
But the thing that runs through it all is this hunch that there's way more to the story of, well, everything. History, the world, you name it. Like we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg.
And that's what always gets me going. That feeling that we're missing huge chunks of the picture.
Right. And this writer, they didn't just sit around and they were digging through all sorts of sources, ancient myths, modern scientific discoveries, even trying to like piece it all together.
A real detective of the past.
Totally. Okay, so one of the things that really pops out is this whole lost continent thing.
Oh, yeah. Lost continents, always a crowd pleaser.
For sure. But it's not just Atlantis, though they were into that too.
Right.
Lemuria also. And they weren't treating them like myths either.
So they thought these were real places.
Oh, yeah, like full-on civilizations that vanished long before, the history we learn in school.
Makes you think, doesn't it? What if even a tiny bit of that is true? I mean, it would rewrite everything we think we know about how civilization began in the first place.
Absolutely. And they even get into specifics.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, they're saying remnants of this Lemuria might be found near Madagascar, Ceylon, and Sumatra.
Huh. Okay, so now we're getting into geography.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Whether that holds up, I'll leave that to the map experts. But it's interesting how they're using these real-world details to kind of build their case.
Right, grounding it in something tangible.
Exactly. And then they tie this whole lost continent idea to, all the myths about floods and deluges.
Oh, yeah, those are everywhere, right? Pretty much every culture seems to have one.
Exactly. And they're suggesting that it wasn't just, bad weather. It was the sinking of these continents, like a global cataclysm that's imprinted in our, we call it, collective memory.
Oh, I like that, collective memory. And then, wait, where do giants fit into all of this?
Okay, so this is where it gets even wilder. They start connecting these lost civilizations to, wait for it, giants.
Giants. Okay, now we're talking.
Right. And not just like tall people. They're saying it was like a whole type of human,
Yeah.
And they're finding evidence for it everywhere.
Evidence? Where?
Well, everywhere from ancient fossils to even 19th century sideshow exhibits, like anything to prove their point.
Wow. Okay, casting a wide net there.
I know, right? They even talk about this Mentone Man fossil.
Yeah.
This guy was supposedly 6'8".
6'8".
Yeah, that's tall, but
It is pretty tall. Yeah, but like, how old are we talking here?
that's the thing, right? We'd have to look into the science on that.
Right.
But their point is that there's this pattern, like this theme that keeps popping up throughout history.
Okay, I'm starting to see where they're going with this.
Like they mentioned an 8'4" skeleton from some Neolithic tomb.
Wow.
And to bring it closer to home, they talk about this nearly 9-foot-tall Hungarian dude who was like a big deal in the London Pavilion back in the day.
So they're pulling from all over the place. Ancient stuff, more recent stuff, all to prove their point that giants weren't just like one-offs.
Right, like a whole lineage.
Exactly. And probably connected to those, super advanced prehistoric civilizations that keep bringing up.
So, okay, are we really supposed to believe giants roamed the earth?
Well, I don't think that's really the point. I think what they're getting at is something much more interesting than just believing or not believing.
Okay, I'm listening.
It's like they're showing us how to look for these patterns, these connections, like how to see echoes of the past in places you wouldn't expect.
Okay, yeah, I get that.
And instead of just dismissing these ideas as like, oh, crazy talk, what if we ask what it would mean if they were true? Like, how would that change how we see history, biology, even human potential?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like they're saying, hey, look, I found these clues. Now you go digging.
Exactly.
And it's not even just about, giants and lost continents. This writer was like obsessed with hidden knowledge, secret teachings, the idea that ancient people knew way more than we give them credit for.
Yeah, there's definitely a current of that, isn't there? Like this idea that there were these, these mysteries that we've lost touch with.
Big time. And what's crazy is they even saw, like, ancient philosophers, like Plato even, as deliberately hiding their true knowledge in their writing.
Oh, wow. So, like, they were writing for a select few who knew how to read between the lines.
Exactly. It's that whole esoteric thing,
Yeah.
Deeper meanings hidden below the surface, only for those in the know.
I mean, it's a fascinating idea, right? That there's this whole other layer of meaning to some of these classic texts.
For sure. And they were convinced there was like this universal wisdom tradition in the past, like a single source that different cultures just expressed in different ways through their myths and symbols and stuff.
Okay, so if there was this, like, unified ancient wisdom, what happened to it? Is it really gone? Or are there, like, pieces of it still out there?
That's the question, isn't it?
Hmm.
And they seem to think there were like remnants, clues waiting to be rediscovered, and that learning to, read symbols and decode myths is like the key to unlocking it all.
Like, they're handing us a treasure map, but instead of gold, it leads to, like, forgotten wisdom.
Right. And they get really specific about how to use that map too.
Yeah.
Like, for example, their take on biblical stories, they didn't see them as, literal events, but as allegories for deeper truths.
Okay, so, like, what kind of deeper truths are we talking about?
Well, they even give a specific example, the word Elohim in Genesis.
Okay, yeah.
They point out it's actually a feminine plural noun
Oh, wow.
that got mistranslated as, a masculine singular.
So instead of one god, it's actually suggesting multiple creative forces.
That's what they're saying. It's a pretty different way of looking at it, isn't it?
It is, and it shows how this writer approached, well, everything. Like, question the assumptions, dig deeper, look for the hidden meaning.
Exactly. And they were super interested in how certain symbols, like serpents and dragons, show up in cultures all over the place,
Huh, that is interesting.
but often with like totally different meanings.
Yeah, good point. Think about the serpent in the Garden of Eden. Usually it's seen as, like pure evil.
Right.
But this writer saw it differently. They pointed out that in a lot of ancient traditions, serpents represented like wisdom, healing, even immortality.
So again, don't just accept the surface interpretation, dig deeper.
Exactly. What if the serpent in Eden represents, like, knowledge? That human need to question, to explore. Maybe the story isn't about a fall from grace, but, like, a necessary step in our evolution.
Huh. I never thought of it like that.
And that's exactly why this writer was so into symbols. They saw them as, like, the key to unlocking these hidden truths.
They were seeing them everywhere.
Everywhere. Even in something as, seemingly basic as the human body.
Okay, now this is where it gets really mind-bending.
Yeah.
They believed our physical forms themselves hold like clues to this vast evolutionary history. And I'm talking way beyond what, mainstream science usually talks about.
So our bodies are like living records of the past.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they have all these examples, like they even point to the fact that human fetuses develop a tail at one point.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And they see that as evidence of our connection to like earlier, more, I don't know, primal forms of life.
So it's like our bodies are like museums,
Yeah.
every cell holding these whispers of ancient transformations.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I mean, it's a lot to wrap your head around, right?
For sure.
But I don't think the point is to, just blindly accept everything they're saying. It's more like they're giving us a starting point.
Right, like a springboard for our own exploration. And it comes back to that idea, right, that there might be way more to the story than we've been told.
Absolutely.
And that it's up to us to start digging. And that digging might lead us to some pretty wild ideas.
Oh, yeah.
Like their whole concept of time.
Okay, yeah, time.
They didn't see it as like a straight line, more like a cycle, this vast repeating pattern of like creation and destruction.
This is where we get into the whole rounds and races thing, right?
Exactly.
Where humanity goes through these multiple cycles of like developing here on Earth.
Yep. Each one with its own, unique characteristics.
So, okay, they said we're in like, what, the 5th root race of the 4th round?
That's right.
What does that even mean? Like, what were these other races like? What happened to them?
Well, they described each root race as having these like distinct qualities, almost like different, I don't know, species of humans.
Really?
Yeah. Like the first root race, they described them as these ethereal beings, almost pure energy, existing on a plane we can barely even imagine. And then the second root race, they were more physical, like giant-like in stature, really tuned into the forces of nature.
Mm-hmm.
And as each round progresses, the races get more, dense, more material, further from that original spiritual state.
So the more human we become, the further we move away from that pure spiritual energy.
You got it.
Huh.
And this ties right into their whole reincarnation thing, too.
Reincarnation, okay.
Yeah, it's not just individual souls being reborn. It's like this collective journey of humanity through these, massive cycles of time.
Okay, so each life contributes to, like, the overall evolution of consciousness.
Exactly.
That's a lot to think about.
It is, right? But it makes you wonder, like, if this whole cycle thing is true, what's next? Are we doomed to just repeat the mistakes of these past races, or can we actually break free from this pattern?
Yeah, those are some pretty big questions.
Definitely takes us beyond our usual deep dive territory.
It does. But I think they're worth asking.
For sure. This writer, they really wanted us to think big, to see our lives and the whole scope of human history in a completely different way.
And to be fair, some of this stuff is really out there.
Yeah.
Like, even controversial, maybe.
Definitely pushes the boundaries.
But even if we don't, buy into the whole package deal,
Right.
I think there's something valuable in just exploring these, like, less conventional viewpoints.
It makes you question everything.
Exactly. It makes you look for connections you might have missed otherwise.
And who knows?
What?
Maybe there's some truth hidden in these, seemingly far-fetched ideas.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's like the beauty of exploring those fringes of knowledge.
Absolutely.
Like, it opens up new possibilities and maybe even helps us, rediscover some ancient wisdom that's been hiding in plain sight all along.
And, going back to what you were saying earlier about how this writer saw the human body as, like, an archive of evolution, that's such a powerful image, and it makes you wonder, like, what other hidden archives are out there just waiting for us to, to decipher them.
Yeah, it's like they're saying, look deeper, question everything. You might be surprised by what you find.
Exactly.
And I think that's a perfect place to, to pause for now. We've covered a lot of ground, from lost continents and giants to, secret teachings and cycles of time.
A whirlwind tour for sure.
It has been. But I think even more importantly, we've been, like, challenged to think differently, to expand our understanding of what's even possible.
Yeah, and this is just the tip of the iceberg with this writer.
Really? There's more.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely more. I mean, we've just scratched at the surface.
Wow.
There are more hidden gems in here.
Okay, well, I can't wait to dig in.
Oh, it's going to be good.
So where do we go from here? We've explored all these, fascinating ideas, a lot of them pretty unconventional.
Right.
But what does it all mean for us? For how we understand the world, ourselves.
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it?
It is.
And I don't think there's one easy answer.
Right.
But I do think this writer has given us some, some tools.
Tools?
Yeah, like tools for understanding, like navigating the complexities of life. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah, like what kind of tools?
Well, for one, they've shown us the power of questioning things.
Questioning.
Not just taking what we're told at face value, but, really digging deeper,
Right.
looking for evidence, considering different points of view.
Like being our own detectives.
Exactly.
And what else?
They also highlight how important symbolism is.
Gobbles, yeah.
Learning to kind of decode the language of myths and metaphors.
Right.
Recognizing the hidden meanings in the world around us.
Yeah, seeing things in a new light.
Exactly. And maybe most importantly, I think they're reminding us that everything is connected.
Everything is connected.
Yeah, that our lives aren't just these isolated events,
Right.
but part of something much bigger, a web woven through time and space.
I like that, a web.
Yeah.
I have to say, this whole deep dive has really made me rethink some things, like my own assumptions.
Yeah.
It's like I've been given a whole new lens to view, reality.
And that's what's so cool about this writer is, like,
Yeah.
it's not about giving you, like, all the answers.
Right.
It's about sparking that sense of wonder.
Wonder.
Yeah, curiosity, possibility.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Like opening your mind up.
It has opened my mind up for sure.
That's great.
So as we wrap up here, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Okay, shoot.
This writer believed that we're all, in a way, archaeologists.
Archaeologists.
Yeah. But not of, like digging up ruins.
Oh.
They call us archaeologists of the soul.
Archaeologists of the soul, huh?
Yeah, like we're digging through layers of experience,
Mm-hmm.
searching for those hidden truths that light up our path and connect us to something, something bigger than ourselves.
And maybe the most important discoveries aren't buried in some ancient city or lost continent, but right here?
Inside us.
Yes, exactly.
This deep dive has been, it's been a wild ride.
It has.
Full of twists and turns, mind-bending ideas.
Yeah.
But it's a journey that each of us has to take,
Yeah.
on our own.
Absolutely.
So keep questioning, keep exploring, keep digging for those hidden truths.
They're out there.
They are out there.